What's up, guys? Alex here again, Jackwagon Garage. I'm at the shop, as you can see. I know it's been a little while since I've done some videos. I haven't really just done anything interesting. Got a little work done on the Integra. That'll, in another video, I'll catch you guys up on all what I've done so far in the last couple of weeks. Just little things here and there. Nothing to make a whole video, so kind of just go generally over just all the little bits I've done. I've done some stuff with the brakes and like the ABS delete and installed stainless steel braided brake lines. I'll go over everything in another video, like I said. But right now I'm in the shop. I've actually got my wife's 16 Outback in here right now. What I'm going to be doing is installing some fog lights. I know it's got factory fog lights already, but we had a little mishap at the shop, and we actually ended up with 2 of these rough country fog light kits for these Subarus. I just put one on a customer car, but we got 2, so went ahead and bought them from my boss and decided I'll install them on the Outback. So good thing I actually had the vehicle that these fog lights fit in. So I know I've got the factory fog lights, but I've been wanting to change them to these anyways. So now it ended up being a pretty good time because we had the extra set. So basically I got these are the fog light versions. You can get a couple. You can get spot beams, you can get flood, you can get SAE, you can get just amber daytime running lights, you can get like a bunch of options. These are the flood, and then it comes with the brackets to bolt it in, and then these little circular plates that bolt on the front of the light, and then they fit nicely inside of the housing there in the factory housing. So I'm gonna go ahead and start getting these installed. I'll kind of give you a little bit of a step on how to do it. I'm not gonna do the wiring. I'll just splice the I'll probably hook these into, I'll cut these connectors here because these plug into the lights, and then I'll cut them a little bit down and actually splice them into the factory wiring, because I just want to use all the factory switches and everything from inside the interior. The customer car that I just put these on didn't have factory fog lights, so I did use this wiring. It's very simple. Basically the hardest part was to find a way through the firewall to get the switch through, because you got to hook the switch up inside, and then everything else is literally just hooks into them. These 2 are the left and right fog lights. There's a black wire for ground, a red wire for power. There's a relay you can bolt up somewhere, and then on the other end of this connector is the switch. You just got to run that inside somehow, and then hook, you know, it's got some sticky tape on it. There's a switch right there. Just got some sticky tape. You stick it up under your dash somewhere, and you can hit them on and off. Pretty simple, but I'm not going to use those because I just want to try to use the factory stuff. I'll basically just be installing just the lights into the factory housings and reusing my factory wiring. So I'm going to go ahead and start removing these factory pieces and start getting the new ones in. Basically the first thing you're going to want to do is start removing your plastic trays from underneath. There's a good 2 dozen or so, maybe more, of little plastic pins, one there and one there. There's a couple on the side here. You could probably get away with just removing this section, but I like to make a little bit more room for me to work with and remove this whole plate from underneath. It's really not that much more work, and I feel like the extra time to do it makes up for the extra space I get to work in right here underneath where the fog lights are in. So go ahead and start popping all these plastic pins and get all these trays off the car. These pliers work amazing for these plastic clips. They fit right. Make sure I get a good shot of this. They fit right. You can see there's 4 grooved sides, and the tips of these fit right perfectly in 2 of them, and just pop the pin right out. They're awesome. All right, I got my plastic tray, the large centerpiece down. The side pieces are connected as one whole piece with the whole fender liner, so obviously that's quite a bit of work to remove the whole fender liner. So I at least just get this pin out and this pin out, and then you can kind of just push it down out of the way. It gives you plenty of room to get up in here with the fog light. I already removed one fog light. I'll show you how to remove the other one. It's pretty simple. Grab a light. So when you don't have factory fog lights, there's literally like just a black plastic cover in there. It's pretty much the same procedure to remove that as having an actual already factory fog light. Obviously you won't want to get your electrical connector off. There's 2 10 mil to take those off, and you'll pop these 2 plastic pins out right there and there, and then this thing literally just lifts out. The factory one, or the when you don't have the factory fog lights, I believe there's 2 little tabs you have to, I think instead of having 2 10 mils like that, it has 2 plastic pins and then 2 tabs you have to pinch to pop it out, if I remember correctly. But it's super simple. You literally look in there and you'll tell what's holding it, the assembly, and then it'll pop right out through the front side. So I'm gonna go ahead and pop this fog light out and then start assembling the new rough country fog lights. All right, there's a few minor little differences and some stuff you're gonna use depending on what kit you have. The instructions are pretty good. One thing I struggled slightly with the first time I did this on a customer vehicle was figuring out, because they didn't really seem to mention what way to mount this bracket onto the light, because as you can see there is a difference. If it goes this way, you kind of got a little bit different of an angle versus if it's this way. I'll have to try to remember and figure out which way I put it, because there's one way I was putting it that I wasn't getting, it wasn't really fitting well inside the housing because of the height, because this basically comes back onto your bracket and it bolts through like this, and there was a certain way that the light wasn't fitting well, and I ended up figuring out I had to have this mounted to the light the opposite way. I'll let you guys know which way it was once I get it assembled and figure out which way fits better, because I don't remember exactly. I'll have to put it together to figure it out again, but there is a specific way this should go on that helps it fit much better. And then another difference is if you buy the daytime running light kit, there's a different bolt you use to mount this bracket to the light. Since this is not the daytime running kit, and the last vehicle I did also was not the daytime running light kit, it was the SAE kit. I think you'll use, there's 2 different length bolts. You see this one's a little bit longer. This longer bolt is only for the, it tells you in the instructions to use the longer bolt for the daytime running light kit, but I'm going to use this one here. It's kind of like a middle length bolt, because what you'll do is remove the 4 outer bolts on the light and then put this on, and then you don't reuse those bolts you took out. You use ones out of the bolt kit you got. It's kind of this middle length bolt. Don't use the long one because that's only for the daytime running light. So I'm going to go ahead and remove those 4 screws on the outside, get the plate installed with these 4 screws, and then I'll get this mounted onto the back side and figure out which way it needs to go onto this bracket that will help it fit inside the fog light housing properly. And I'll show you guys all the little steps along the way of doing all of that, and we'll get this thing inside the car. All right, so I've got pretty much the light assembled. This is how it will look once you get the front plate on. Okay, you take out those 4 outer screws, and that's those ones that I've got there, and you put in your middle length screws from the bolt kit you get, put them on the outside. Don't go too tight on them. You don't want to strip the threads out, and there's really no reason to go super tight. The only thing is that you're going to need extra is a 2mm Allen key. They supply you with 2 Allen keys. The big one fits the side bolt, and the smaller one fits the bolts that come in the light already, but then these are an even smaller size. You gotta get a 2mm, so I've got my own 2mm there to do those ones. And then I believe I have the bracket right, if I remember correctly. I think the problem I was having was when I had the bracket on the other way, and the last kit I did with the SAE light, these brackets actually came pre-installed already in the light. You have, on these fog lights, you have to put them in, and I think they were just upside down, because when I tried putting it in, this wasn't sitting low enough. If you put this bracket in, if you flip it and put it in, the bracket's it sits, once you put it in, to make it flat, you can see it points more up. Like if I was going to bolt this one in this way, it would be, to make it flat on the back side, it's got to have a little slight up angle, versus the way I put it in, when I bolt it in, it comes down at a slight angle to get this to be flat. And I think that's the issue I was running into, so I'm going to try it this way. Maybe I'm incorrect and I had to have it more up, so I might have to flip this bracket, but I think I've got it in the right way. So I'm going to get the bracket, this bracket here, installed into the car. because then this will get bolted into the car in the factory location on the back side inside the bumper, and then you'll slide this light in through the factory housing right up against this, and you can see the slot on the back of here and the slot on the back of here will line up, and you'll bolt them together using these bigger bolts that came in with the in the light box. But I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys how to install this bracket, and then we'll get the light ready to put into the housing. Alrighty, so basically what you'll need for this step is obviously your mounting bracket, and then you're supplied with these bolts. It's the bigger bolts in the, you get 2 bags of bolts. This bag of bolts comes with the lights. This bag of bolts comes with the actual install kit for the Subaru. And you're gonna take the bigger bolts that are in the kit. You put a washer on each one. They give you 8 washers. Or sorry, they give you 16 washers. Use 8 on the bolts, and then you also have 8 of these nylon locking nuts. And basically you'll take all your nuts, all your bolts, all your washers. These bolts, these 4 are still for the other fog light that I haven't put the circular bracket on, and then these ones will just be extra because these are only if you have the daytime running light, so you won't use those. And then basically, I got the bracket in here so you guys can see, is basically get the bracket in there, just like that. And then you put 2 bolts underneath and 2 bolts up on top. The bolts and a washer on each bolt. And then through the front side, you put a washer on each one, and then obviously your 2 nuts on top and 2 nuts on the bottom. And then I would go ahead and get them started to almost fully tight, but you don't want to fully tighten them just yet because you want to make sure your fog light's going to fit well. And then when you make sure your fog light's going to fit well, then go ahead and tighten them all the way up, just in case you have to make some adjustments. But so I'm going to go ahead and get these bolts tightened up and then start getting the fog light installed. All right, guys, I got this fog light basically fully mounted up. You can see it in there. Got my bracket fully tightened. Like I said, you want to leave these bolts here and here and the 2 up top a little loose while you test fit the fog light, but to actually fully tighten them, you have to take the fog light back out once you know it fits well, and then you go and tighten those 4 bolts, then put the fog light back in, and then you can see the bolt, how the bolt from the bracket, that bracket here that you mount to the back side of the fog light. You'll take your long bolt that came with the lights, and you can see that it has 2, you can see that it has these 2 raised edges, and the bolt fits right in between them where it can't rotate, so it'll hold it tight. And then that bolt comes through the bracket on the back. That's what the end of this is that bolt. And then you'll, as well, in the bolt kit that comes with the lights, it comes with a flat washer and then a locking washer. You put the flat washer on, then a locking washer, then your nut, and tighten it down, and that will hold your fog light nice and still. So that fog light's pretty much done. All I gotta do is just wired it up into my factory wiring, but otherwise it's all done. So I'm gonna get this side together, and then I'll show you guys how I'll wire it together. I've got both fog lights installed. They're looking pretty level. They don't look like they're pointing too much up or down, or, and the Rough Country logo here seems pretty parallel to the ground. Oops, I need to take the plastic shield off of this one. Ooh. The next thing I gotta do is wire them up. I'll give you guys a quick little rundown of what I'm planning on doing. Like I said, if you don't have the factory fog lights, you're probably just gonna want to go ahead and run this whole harness. Like I said, you literally just run this switch into the interior in whatever way you feel like it. These 2 would plug into the fog lights, and you'd run a power and a ground, and then it comes in with a relay and a fuse already, everything wired up. It's pretty easy to put in. Like I said, I did it on a customer car not that long ago. It didn't take long to do this. Since I had factory fog lights, I do want to try to maintain all my factory wiring. These are the plugins for the factory fog lights. I already cut this one, because basically what I'm going to do is I cut the plug-in with enough left over, just in case I ever wanted to put these factory ones back in. I can always put them back because I left enough wire for me to do so. So basically what I'm going to do is strip these, put some crimps on them. I'm going to cut these plugins out of the harness that are plugged into the fog light, and I'm going to put these wires crimped into my factory wires, and then they'll plug right into the fog light and be able to turn them on and off with my factory button inside the vehicle. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that, and I'll show you guys the end result. That should be all done. I'm gonna check and make sure they work before I put the shields back up. But here's a little peek at kind of basically what I did. I really just took some crimps and wired my plug-in that I cut off from the harness that comes with the Rough Country kit. And I cut them off and then just crimped them into my factory wiring. So now my button inside the cabin of the vehicle will be able to turn the fog lights on and off without having to run a whole bunch of extra wires and stuff. I use the heat shrinking style crimps as well. Those are nice, especially if you plan on doing any amount of off-roading or anything, and you might be getting water, you know, maybe going through like small creeks or anything. Those heat shrinking ones, just a little propane torch shrinks them up. It keeps them nice and watertight. So that's a good option for anybody planning on doing any amount of off-roading, which I'm hoping to do some with this thing. I'm not gonna go too crazy with this car, but I want it to be a halfway decent, capable off-roader. So like I said, the heat shrinking crimps are nice because they'll keep those connections nice and watertight and not get any corrosion on those wires. I just kind of put a little zip tie because these Rough Country lights do come with a lot of excess wire, so I put a little zip tie up to that factory bit of harness, and then this one I just zip tied to the underneath of the bracket for the fog light. So I'm going to put this thing down, make sure these lights work, and if they are, then I'll put this plastic shield back up and we'll be all done here. I think we are good to go. It's going to be hard to show you guys how bright they are, obviously in a bright shot, but they appear to be at least as bright as the headlights, maybe more. I do want to get some LED headlights for this thing as well. Like I said, hopefully this is the first of a couple of modifications I'll be doing to this thing. So stick around for some more installation help on some of this kind of stuff. Like I said, when I get the ditch lights, I'll do install on those and the lift kit and all that, and you guys can kind of watch this thing come along. Hope I'll be doing some off-roading with my buddy Nathaniel, Nate Williams. You can go check out his YouTube. He's got a lifted STI that he takes off-roading, and hopefully I'll be doing some stuff with him. That would be fun. His STI is all lifted with tires and a bunch of lights and a big custom front bumper with a winch and all that. That's kind of where I want to get this thing at too. So thanks for watching. I hope I can help you guys install these lights. Like I said, the installation instructions that come with the Rough Country kit are pretty good, other than that one bit when I said you can install the bracket either way, and I showed you which way seems to work better in my opinion. That, and then like I said, you just need a 2mm Allen wrench to fit the new bolts that hold the plate on the front of the light, because they don't give you an Allen wrench that's small enough to do that. But I'm gonna go ahead and head out of here, and just subscribe, like the video if you enjoyed it. I hope I could help somebody out maybe that was having some issues with this, or if you're just looking to find a video to watch on how to do this before you dive into it yourself. Super easy, anybody can do it in their driveway, no problem. The only thing you'll need is a 10mm and another, like I said, that 2mm Allen wrench. Otherwise they supply with the other 2 sizes you need. So like I said, yeah, please like, subscribe, and if you want to see more content on this, hopefully I'll be getting some soon. I'll see you guys in the next one. All right, it's nighttime now. I just want to give you guys a quick little view of the fog lights. This is just with the regular headlights on. That's just running lights, low beams, and then there's the fog lights. So as you can tell, they are pretty bright. I'd say actually maybe even brighter than the headlights. Like I said, I want to get some LED bulbs. That'll help it match a little bit. One, the fog lights will be LED and the headlights will be LED, and the fog lights won't be so much brighter than the headlights. It's not that the fog lights sit real low though, because I don't think they'll blind anybody, because they're sit really low, but yeah, you can tell that's quite the difference. It really lights the road up well. So yeah, I like them so far. We'll see how they do in the long run.